Hi, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Mirko. It's absolute pleasure to having you here, and as usual, I'm hoping that you're safe, that you're well, and I'm thankful for you to be able to be here. Very grateful, and yeah, today is another special episode. I keep forgetting the numbers of it. I think we're up to 79th or 80th episode, and we're going all the way to Finland. So, grab your seat and tighten your belt, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the ride.
Hey
Good
y'all.
morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
It's going fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving us an hour of your time. It's super good. I
Of
think
course.
it was quite overdue for us to catch up to meet. So very thankful for it. And before we kick things off, how's you and your family doing with the whole
Whole
situation?
situation. It's all good. Finland has actually been kind of okay with Corona. Whenever it was whenever started hitting Nordics, we were just like, all right. So the government just closed all the borders, and the whole country's kind of like isolated. So people are taking precautions. Some are like people are not even like uh if they consider that they might even have corona, they're just staying at home, and it's just like everybody's being really like cool about it.
Good, good. So you've been, I suppose, able to, brew a lot of coffee at home and
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
enjoy.
Like, oh, there was this one time when we did actually have like a 3 week mandatory period that everybody had to stay at home. So I was like dipping really deep into my freezer, and I had just like almost all of my coffee that I had frozen from like past 9 months just like gone. And now I'm just slowly recovering from that.
Yeah, sorry, before we get started, but I've recently switched brewing method and went for AeroPress and the other
Hmm.
day I work out. I didn't usually doesn't impact my sleep, but still my body impacts a little bit. And then I realized that by going from 235 ml of coffee from the AeroPress all the way to 320, 330 on
Yep,
my V60 and the grammars, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I'm still having 2 cups of coffee, but it's actually more. Um,
exactly.
it was a realization of that. But all right, important question: how do I pronounce your name? And then we can get started.
Yes. Well, it's kind of it's really weird, but it's Kaapo. So Kaapo.
Capo.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so capo, which it means boss in Italian if you said someone capo. I'm sure you
Yes.
heard that before. Good,
Yeah.
even though the spelling is different. So capo, could you kindly tell us how you started your amazing coffee journey, and we're just gonna get the ball rolling from there.
Of course. So I started about 10 years ago when I was still in high school. Well, that was longer than that actually. Uh, we had this unofficial coffee club in high school where me and a couple of my friends that like were hanging around at the time, we were just trying out different coffees that we could get our hands on, and we were doing it in a French press with a just a cheap like uh, really cheap home grinder, and it's it was like it was the first thing that opened my eyes to like coffee, because I had this preconceived idea that coffee is really dark and really sort of like really strong and bitter, and it didn't taste any good, anything like it didn't taste any good. And then I don't know, then I just started from there, and I was like, I have to get more of this. If this can taste like this, I just have to get more. And then I started hanging around with people and going to different coffee shops, and eventually I got a job at a coffee like one of the better coffee shops in Helsinki, like how many years ago was it? Like 5, 6 years ago. And then I just built my career from there. And now I'm running my own coffee company and just starting a pop-up soon, so it's good.
Wow, and it's just I can't stop surprising myself the more I talk to people. Even yesterday we had like a what we call a global coffee table, and all these people were, tuning in, and we all
Yeah.
hanging out for a couple of hours. And it's like everyone's stories on how they get into coffees is so personable and so particular. Like you started in high school, like I started drinking coffee about 3 years ago, and like I'm not
Mm.
shying away from. I actually been a barista for longer than that. Like I used to dial
Yeah.
in the coffee without tasting it and giving it to my chef and say, "Hey, does it taste good to you?" Because I had
Yeah.
this, like you, idea that coffee was this bitter, bad, dirty water. Like back then,
Exactly.
so I was like, hey chef, oh no, I think, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's not looking good. So I'm like more watching the shot
Yeah.
than actually tasting. And then here you are in high school. That's incredible. And
Wow.
we got team. Hey, big shout out team. Haven't seen you in
Yeah.
a while, buddy. And he's obviously messaging in a language that
Yeah.
I don't comprehend.
Yeah, that's actually like Finnish, and he's asking, he's saying, "Hello from Australia. How is the coffee in Finland, and do you drink a lot of filter?" Yes, yes, I do actually. I was just having a really wonderful uh, coffee from El Paraiso in Colombia. It was a double anaerobic fermented Caturra. That was just it was roasted by Nomad Coffee, and it was divine. It was so good.
I love that feeling. Yeah, thanks for leaving the question. And so, okay, so let's kind of talk it through because you're
Yeah.
super young, and despite that, you were like, no, I know what I want, and I met a few people who were super young and they knew what they want, and I think it's super cool. I
Mm.
think it's really cool and rare. So, most people don't get that until a lot of people don't even get it until retirement. Oh, I should have been a
Yeah,
baker after 50 years of being an accountant or whatever.
exactly.
So what sort of was your natural kind of path that allowed you to go, okay, well, I'm going to high school, I'm studying all things that, I don't know, maybe some interested you, some didn't.
Yeah.
But you kind of like, well, I got this club, I got this thing going on. What was sort of the process, A, with your family,
Mm.
whoever you got around you, B, mentally on a personal level, and C, on a practical level personally, what did that look for you in terms of like, okay, well, now I need to get a job at a coffee shop to learn how to, you know, clean dishes or learn workflow. At the same time, I need to tell my parents that this is what I'm going to do.
Oh, that's actually a really good question, and thank you for asking that because uh, that actually brings us a really good segue into like how it is like to working in coffee. And at first, it was really hard because like a coffee job here in Finland, in the Nordics, is not considered something that you would consider a career. It's not considered a real job in quotation marks. It's something you do in between, something you sort of like do to get some extra money to help you pay rent while you're in college or in like university, and just like something it's not considered something that you would pursue as a career. And I don't think my parents kind of even still today understand that I want to make this into a career.
Mm.
And nor they, I mean, they're supportive, of course, because like I feel like I'm one of the creative person, like one of those like creative types in my family. So they kind of understand that where I'm going with this, but they still don't fully understand the concept of making coffee for a living. And
Mm.
so they still kind of like expected that like I would even like start a business or I would start managing something or but that it's not the creative aspect of it.
But
Uh,
sorry, I
no,
really
go
want
ahead.
to get there. Like I'm getting goosebumps because this is the shit that I love more than coffee. Like, and I'm going super assumption here, okay?
Yeah,
But I'm assuming that you're, working at the moment or somehow or whatever. Like I see a couple of
yeah,
granders behind you, seven. And by all means, if your answer is yes or no, it's okay.
yeah,
But I'm assuming that you've been earning a little bit of cash for then reinvesting into your passion.
yeah, yeah. I actually am not working anywhere right now. I'm working for my own company. So I
Yeah, but,
am,
but before that, before Corona, you were working, earning your own way, right?
yes, yes.
Do you still live with your parents?
No, 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 I don't.
So that's where I was going. Like, I think
Yeah,
you cracked the code, because you're off your parents' payroll.
Mm.
So what I'm saying is it would have been more difficult for you to have this conversation if you were every 14, 28 days asking your parents for money because you
Yeah.
lived under their roof, because then, you're like, well, hang on a minute. You're not paying my rent. You're not paying my, whatever
Yeah.
grant that you got in the background.
But
Looks like
there's
an EK,
there,
yeah.
yeah, there's a 43S and a 43.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the S, but with the hopper was throwing me. Okay,
Yeah.
like it's not like, hey, mom, buy me an EK.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, well, hang on a minute, like you go and wash dishes and then you buy your own EK. So props to you, man. Like that's like, yeah, that's like
Thank you.
step number one, but it's the step that means the most. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
No, it's like I of course like I didn't in the Nordics people tend to move away from their parents like relatively young. Like I think the average median age when people move away from home is around 18, 19. And like some people do it younger than that because like like rental situations are kind of okay in the Nordics. Like if you can
Mm,
get a really nice apartment, you can get it for relatively cheap. So it's fairly okay.
mm,
Uh, so I moved away relatively young as well. So, and I started pursuing a career, or not, I started pursuing my passion in coffee. But even though I was in school, I've been studying a lot of like different subjects at different universities here in Finland. And like my two main ideas were that I was going to be a lawyer, and didn't fall through. Didn't happen. Not going to be a lawyer. Never going to happen. No, just no. Not going to do it. And hold on. Then the second thing I studied was business management, and I did that for 3 years. And I was like this close to finishing it, but then I realized that no, this is not what I want to do. This is not what where my passion lies. This is not something I would be seeing myself doing for the next 25 to 30 years. And I was like, all right, so what if I'm not like in that level interested in this, why am I still doing it? So then I dropped that and started making coffee for a living. And it was a slow, gradual rise to a sort of like a sustainable coffee career. And eventually, like because the Nordics are so small, there's a very low level of ceiling. There's a very low ceiling where it's kind of hitting. And if you really want to continue with your passion in coffee, you have to get past that ceiling, and you have to sort of like try to get better at it. And eventually, you will hit that sort of like limit, which you can like progress to at a coffee shop, unless the coffee shop is bringing you these opportunities and integrating you to their actual corporation. And I say that there's like maybe one or two coffee shops that actually could do that in Helsinki. And so that was the only like logical conclusion was that I would have to just start something on my own or then move abroad. And yeah.
Well, first, props to you. Honestly, kudos, props, whatever word. It's everyone needs different things, but I think it's super cool. But there's two things that I'm taking away from you. Two words. One is sustainable. I think that we have kind of left the word sustainable career a long time ago, and I really appreciating that you're saying it in the way you're saying it, because a lot of people want a fancy career, an exciting career, but sustainable is actually what makes a job. All it needs to be is sustainable,
Yeah.
because without that, we can't be naive. Without being able to earn enough money to feed your family, then it's not a sustainable job. It doesn't matter, you gotta still make bank for the basics. And the second part is not a word, but it's like culture. It is a word, but you didn't use that word. I've always looked up at the Nords, the Scandinavian regions, and we're very interested. Norway, Sweden, Finland. Not because you're here, but you can ask people. Like I love minimalism, so you get me already from there. And I think that culture is super important to what you said, to bring things in context. Because like in Italy, I know that it's an environmentally, financially, economically, culturally different situation, but I don't know, like a lot of my friends, like even in their 30s, are still at home, which is okay. Like
Yeah.
it's fine. There's no right or wrong, but I find it super interesting that you guys have a place where you're able to, hey, go and learn, go and get the ropes. Like I really like that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's always been because we're always way up, like we're here up north where there's like we don't have a lot of people here. It's like our population's around like 5 million, 5.5 million, which is
hmm
fairly low in comparison to everybody else. Like it's less than 0.01% of the whole population of the globe, which is like technically means that we don't exist. Like according to the UN statistical math, we do not exist because the UN census has an error margin of 1%. So we
okay,
Finland
okay.
doesn't exist.
All right, you that,
Goddamn.
that will work on. All right, so and
Mm.
where did competing kind of fall through onto your lap? Like
Yeah.
at what stage and why you were like, well, I think it's my natural progression, or is it what I have to do or I want to do?
Yep. It's actually a funny story. Because
I like funny stories, so you can go.
all right, so back in 2018, there was this Barista Championships. No, 2019 Barista Championships. Um I did Brewers before that in 2018, and I wasn't actually interested in Barista Championships at first. I was like, all right, so there's a Barista Championships. I'm not interested in it. I want to do Brewers. But then I heard that there was this one barista going to uh, going to the barista championships here in Finland, and there were these two baby baristas competing against that one professional barista. And the competition was still going to go ahead because there was the minimum three competitors. And I was like, all right, so hold on, there's these two baby baristas who haven't been doing this for like professionally that long, and there's this one professional barista who's been doing it for years. So like, hold on, what's the competition like if it's those two versus that one person? I was like, I can't allow that. I just can't let that happen because that was like that's not at that point it wasn't a competition. That was just free tickets to that one barista to the world championships. And I was like, all right, so I can't let that happen. I have to give that person at least some level of competition. And then I was like, all right, so I'm gonna drop Brewers. I'm gonna get into barista, and then I started training for it. And while I was training, I was like, hold on a minute. There's more to this than just espresso. There's there's so many rules, there's so many variables, there's so many different ideas that you have to figure out, and you have to figure out this whole theme on your own, and you have to get all these ideas and present that to the judges while making coffee, while making sure that everything runs smoothly and everything goes according to plan. And I was like, this is actually really interesting. And then I started dwelling into it, and I got really, really, really into it that I started having nightmares about the competition. And it was just bad at that point. And then I realized that, all right, I actually do like this. I like the preparation. I like the research. I really enjoy that sort of sharing those ideas to people and giving the judges the best possible cup of coffee that I can get, because that sort of represents what I can do and what I am with the coffee. Because nowadays, how I see competitions is that they are sort of a framework for your creativity to express yourself with coffee within those certain rule sets. And I think it's a really fantastic opportunity to show everybody, because there are hundreds of people watching, and there are, like, especially the world championships, there are thousands of people watching that. It's a wonderful opportunity to showcase something new, something that you're proud to show, that's something that you're really excited about, to everybody else, so that everybody else can learn, everybody else can benefit from that. And I think that's really what got me into competition.
And obviously, for the books, you became Finnish barista champion, so that's sort of the final chapter of that story.
Yeah,
I had to edit in just for give context, because obviously, congratulations on that.
thank you.
But you know what? I think I like where you're going, and I kind of want to drill onto one concept. I think a lot of times people focus on like the idea, right? So I
Yeah.
like to have a cafe. I like to become a football player. I like to compete in coffee, or I like to have a good body, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you don't like the process, that's it. Like when you were saying, I realized that I liked the researching and I liked creating the story and presenting. What you're saying, in other words, is that you enjoy the process around it because it's like getting a good body. Like you enjoy the process of planning your workout, your meals, you're enjoying the workout. And when you're in it, you enjoy the process of it, which is I think super key and super underestimated when people talk. Is like, well, oh, you got to be passionate about coffee. Well, yeah, but you also want to enjoy the process of waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning if the shop's open at 6,
Hmm.
having dirty hands smell like coffee with coffee
Yeah.
under your nails. If you don't enjoy the process, then it doesn't matter. And I think we can kind of bring it back in a metaphor with a book. If halfway through the book you're not enjoying it, there's no point finishing. Like you need to move on to the
Exactly.
next book. So you enjoy the process, which is super good. Well, I think we never really discussed this on the podcast. So
Mm.
and, okay, so what other processes do you like aside from competing? Assuming coffee
Ooh.
and building research.
Oh man, like I love this is it's a very very bad way of saying it, like describing it, but I love making coffee, and but that's it's not because I love making it, it's because I love serving it to people. I want people to get that same um remember that time when I told you about the that how we had this coffee club at high school, and I was like, I didn't know coffee could taste like this. I did not know that this could taste like that. And um I want other people to experience that same sort of eye-opening experience that I had when I was in high school, that I did not know that coffee could taste like this. And it's it's something that is really, I think I find really important, even to a daily barista who's doing this daily, because we need to understand that this is something different. This is something, there's so much flavor and there's so much, there's a gradient of flavor that you can get from, even as an example, a coffee that you work every day. It's not going to taste the same every single day. And I think that's just fantastic. And trying to get that to people and conveying that to people that, hey, did you know that coffee can taste like lychees, like strawberries, like tropical yogurt? And it's just like, or this one coffee that I actually competed with in the Finnish Barista Championships, uh, like it tasted like mangoes and fermented pineapples. And I was like, it's impossible that coffee could taste like this. There's no way that this coffee can taste like this. And it was blowing my mind every time I was drinking it. And it was good. And that's something I really want to convey to other people as well. That, hey, did you know that coffee can taste like this? It's amazing.
Well, yeah, and I think again, what you were talking about, it's still the steps of the process. It's like
Hmm.
you enjoy sharing. That's part of the process. You enjoy making, but and all of it is just aligned with your set of values and the moral compass that you have around your career and your whole as Kaapo and coffee. Like I know we're going a little bit deep here, but
Yeah.
because you're keeping your values so close to you, to your chest, it's become super easy for you not only to enjoy the process. So I'm trying to print the comment again in Finnish.
Yeah.
We answered your first question, by the way. Well, penis, so we don't forget. Not
Yeah.
only is it about the process, but it's like, well, yeah, like because it's so close to your values, which is
Yeah.
fantastic at such a young age, and I love to see that. Yeah, it's great. I think people should take notes of what you just said for sure. And
Thank you.
I let you read Team's question
All
because
right.
I have no idea.
So, how to make a fruity coffee into more approachable for a normal, regular customer? So, how? All right, I get that. Yeah, that's hard. Although, like, I think this is my personal idea, just like something I like an opinion, not
There's no
a
right or wrong. Yeah.
exactly. I think as an industry, we have a tendency to sort of overcomplicate things, over like, how should I put it? It's like we have a tendency to elevate the product that we do every day to our customers. We have a tendency to create something that's like even though if we can make something taste amazing, we have a tendency to sort of like trying to put it on a pedestal and just like trying to sell it to people as something amazing because we want to sell that because our livelihood depends on it. But because of that, it's something, even though it's like, it becomes snobbish, it becomes sort of like unapproachable because we're trying to elevate it to such a high stature, such a high sort of like a high quality, that it becomes unapproachable to a normal regular customer. So if you sell, as an example, a natural anaerobic Ethiopian that tastes like strawberries and cherries and dark chocolate, and you tell that customer, oh, this is a double anaerobic natural Ethiopian from Semiona Bay in Gucci, Adola region, and it's just like, how is that regular customer who's just drinking or expecting a cup of Joe, to like put it into like layman's terms, how is that going to translate to that person who's just expecting a cup of coffee, when we're selling it to that person as the best possible thing, in this world that they have never tasted before. So it's not about like the actual, even if you know you have an amazing coffee, you have to sort of still understand that is not, because you know that it's amazing, it might not translate to the other person who is your customer. So you have to sort of like understand, to try to read your customer. What is that customer expecting from you when they walk in? So like, as an example, even if you know you have an amazing coffee, and this is what I'm doing at my pop-ups, is that I'm just like not even mentioning that, all right, so I have a 90 plus Dreamazere on the espresso, and like whatever you want, you can have a single shot milk latte with oat milk into that 90 plus Dreamazere, and then they're going to be like, oh, like this coffee tastes amazing, it tastes like fig cake, and they're like, how does this coffee taste like this? What did you put in this? I was like, no, there's nothing in it. It's just the coffee. And that's the point. That's the moment when that customer turns around and does like, hold on a minute. I just asked for a coffee, but this coffee tastes amazing. That's the point that you, as a professional barista, is your point of going into that person's mindset and just changing their concept of what a good coffee could be. So underplaying to customers' expectations, that's, I think, the key thing.
I love it. And just to add on to that, yesterday was like, 15, 16 people all into our room from all different countries. And we touched base on this topic as a community, and three things that stood out, and some of them were thoughts that I had already. I think number one, and something I'll discuss a couple of times, I think we could also look. There's a place for everything. So I understand why we want to make tasty notes sound in a fun, cool way. I get it, but I think that has a place for certain amount of people. So I wouldn't mind if there was like a tier system of tasting notes, even almost like where it's like your tier one is like super basic. It's like it's gonna be quite chocolatey. That's it. Like that's it. Yeah. And then it's like, it's gonna be like a chocolate bar with a hint of orange. And then you can go Jaffa cake with orange zest and cinnamon and candied fruit bomb. Cool. One. Two. Cultural tasting palette, and that's something that Ann Cooper was talking about yesterday in the group. I was very lucky to have her on, and I was actually surprised that she was on. And she was explaining, for example, that one day she was training roasters from Korea, and they were tasting fruits, and there was some Australian strawberries, and like these Korean students were like disgusted by the strawberries because they were too acidic, and like, well, in Korea, our strawberries is sweet. So expectation from the cup, which tasting notes says strawberry, to your point,
Yeah.
based on what your experiences with strawberry, it's going to be completely different for someone who never had, had different expectation on strawberries. And then we add on fruits or different flavors that we never tasted because, you're from Scandinavia. So like your accessibility to tropical fruits is very little compared to Southeast Asia. Third and final, what you said, which is context. I think we need to be wary of context. So it's like if a guy is walking in suit and tie and he's running late and he's frantic, all he cares is how long it's going to take you to make his coffee.
Yep.
Done. Person who starts opening up, then, because you've gained their trust with the speed the day before, you gain the trust with the consistency because you've been coming in for a few weeks. Once you got that rapport, then the minute you see a little opening, it's when there's like interest, therefore you can feed through information. Because the minute you start talking to people and people that don't want to listen, it's like talking to a wall. But yeah, sorry, I had to squeeze that through because
no, that's actually good, because there's actually a thing I want to add to that as well, is that like it's a really good point that like as an example, cultural differences between tasting notes and flavor palettes. But this is something I've struggled with competitions as well, is individual tasting palette differences. And because as a barista, how can you be sure that this other person is tasting the same flavor notes that you are tasting? So how can you, as an example, like this is something I lost I only got silver back in 2019 for the Barista Championships. And it was because I had two distinct flavor notes. I was telling the judges that, all right, this tastes like these very specific raspberries, this very specific dark chocolate, and this very specific juice that had this very specific sugar content. But so I got a lot of good feedback from that, saying that, all right, so if you know these flavors, how are the judges expected to know the same exact flavor notes that you put up to those judges? So that's also something that we need to be aware of, because like my flavor palette might be different from yours, and your flavor palette might be different from everybody else's. Like it's very real, and it's very noticeable when you start talking with people and comparing flavor notes and flavor palettes.
Yes. And look, I'll squeeze in one more after the following question, because we got a ritual question, as you might know, at the halfway through the episodes, and you got it the same, the out-of-the-box question. But I really want to narrow down on one more thing on that, because it's super interesting topic, what you just said too. So anyway, just to get a break, who would you like to have dinner with if you could choose anybody?
Does it have to be a coffee person?
Nope. Doesn't even have to be alive or past, present, future. Fictional.
I would probably want to have dinner with the Obamas, actually. That would be really interesting. It would be, yeah. And then also probably the current Barista champion, Ju Yeon from South Korea. Like her, I would want to have dinner with her and her coach, Brody.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, it's I think you can quite maybe likely achieve the second option, probably.
True. We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Go back to what you were saying. You see, I'm not sure what the craft beer scene looks like in Finland, but we were talking about this yesterday in the Global Coffee Table, which, for reference, is just a private thing. It's not on Instagram. It's not recorded.
No.
Well, beers company down here have done an amazing job is just put art and color and cool shit on the cans and the bottles. Because that stuff, everybody understand and interpret it.
Yeah.
Like, if you like hot pink with stars and rainbows, you're going to like that shit. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to grab it off the wall and go with it. Because it's relatable, because it's your favorite color, because it's like something appealing to you. Therefore, it's not like, oh, I don't know if I want to touch it because it says, if that kind of beer started saying you're going to taste A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's a bit pretentious, it's a bit like unapproachable, but they're doing a good job with that. Maybe the blend name or the single origin name. So what I actually appreciate is where it's fine with naming them. I'm not very easy to get sued because it's a compliment. Like Proud interestingly approach on single origin now. They have three banners with different colors. Curious and adventurous, and there's another one I can't remember.
Yeah.
Ludicrous. No, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. And there's no tasty notes on the bag.
Yeah.
There's a card that comes with it with the farm information, and over there there's a little information. But I think it's like it's a step in the right direction because it's like, well, you really like that. It's like. Okay, sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, it must be the internet. All of a sudden, it's like, well, if you're curious about coffee, this is the bag for you.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go adventure, this is the bag for you. It's a very different approach, and I kind of like we need to play around with that. Like, and there's no right or wrong. Like, you might just have a plain bag saying coffee. Here you go, take it, do whatever you want with it.
I know Proud Mary because I've been thinking about ordering coffee from them because their reserve coffee menus are really interesting. They have some coffees that nobody else is right now doing. As an example, their Colombian Whoosh Whoosh is something I haven't seen any other roastery do. And I know that Whoosh Whoosh is a really hard coffee to get because it's first of all really expensive, and then it's also really low yield variety. So, but like these guys are doing it. These guys also are so crazy that they're putting 3 EKs and 3 hoppers into a freezer, and just so they can keep their coffee frozen and just consistent dose every time. And I think that's amazing. They're doing a lot of good research. Something I'm actually looking up to a little bit because man, I wish I had their resources.
I get you, but you get there. I have no doubts. No, I get you. You are a little bit choppy on it's spinning every now and then. It spins, so hopefully I don't lose you because I would hate to lose the interview. But if it happens, she happens all the times. But I think you're right. I want to sort of drive away from Proud just because otherwise it sounds like it's a sponsored endorsement. But it's true. I think changing the approach is definitely helpful, and you kind of need to help me out with Team's next question because I do understand.
There were a couple of other questions before that, so I would like actually like there was a like LMHDHWB is asking, I want to learn more about making coffee, and the most important thing in learning to make coffee is that you start doing it. You start tasting it, and you start being, and this is something I always preach, is being mindful of what you're actually tasting and being mindful of what you're putting into your mouth, how that actually tastes, how the mouthfeel feels, how does it feel in your mouth, what does it taste like, what kind of flavors are you getting, what kind of like acidity are you getting, what kind of juiciness are you getting. I could talk like another 2 hours about this. So just like be mindful of what you're tasting and how you are tasting things. It doesn't have to be a coffee. It can be anything else, just anything you put in your mouth. Just like try to, for a minute or like 30 seconds, try to think, what does this taste like? So that's, I think, the best way to start learning how to be a better barista is that you start learning how to taste. You start learning how to separate flavor notes from each other. And then,
Sorry, go on.
No. Like, who's the ruler in the coffee kingdom? Is it the Italians? I don't want to answer that question. That's a really political question. Nope. No, I refuse to answer that question. That's way too political. Coffee's not political. Coffee is all around, and it's for everybody. Nobody rules it. Everybody's good at it.
Yeah.
And
and to touch base on what you were saying about to improve your barista, I think there's, what you said is I just love that I was smiling because it's incredible how you get it at such a super young age. Like what you're again describing is enjoy and pay attention to the process.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's like, well, the process is develop a palate,
Yeah.
but not because you want to develop a palate because you want to pick up notes necessarily. It's because, well, in order to make a better coffee and understand what recipe to use with your next brew, if
Yeah.
it tastes different or not. So what you're describing again is what you really get, and it's impressive. It's a, I mean, like it's just really focused on the process. Couple of points is like take advantage of technology. It's like there's a shit ton of videos on YouTube. Like
Yeah.
I can't describe how many videos out there, free information, little books. But you know, like not everybody can afford $50 books. So then YouTube becomes available. But Instagram, like you and I,
Yes.
first time we speak to each other ever, and all it took, it was just a direct message, and it's like, well, like this. It's like, hey, it's a chat, but
Yeah.
it's not an approach of gaining something out of anybody with any expectations. The minute that you connect in that way with someone, then that someone might be able to help you, might be able to guide
Exactly.
you. And maybe you don't know, maybe you hit up someone and it's like in your town and you're lucky enough that that person is looking to tutor or mentor someone to train for comps. And all of a
Exactly.
sudden, someone grab you under the wing and is like, come with me, buddy. And,
Yeah.
and and all it took was just a 35-second investment of time of like typing, hey, how are you? My name is, John, da 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 da. I would love to
Exactly.
talk to you more about my passion, ba ba bing, ba boom, ba bang, send, and they reply. So I think
Exactly.
take advantage of those two things. Absolutely. Couple, moving back to you, even though what we spoke about, I think it's super interesting. And, we could go 2-3 hours and then
Exactly.
I barely read any of these questions, like as usual. Anyway, something that I'm super curious is a very selfish question, just because A, I like to travel, but B, I'm not allowed to travel at the moment.
Ah, no.
I can't even leave mini ponds, so little alone Australia. And I'm too busy with travel anyway. But what is like Finland when it comes to coffee? What's the Finnish coffee scene?
Oh, that's a really good question. Finland is the world's most largest consumer of bulk filter coffee. We drink around like 9.9 to 10 kilos of coffee per capita, and that's 3 kilos more than I think the people who are like drinking the second most amount of coffee in the world. And it's amazing. It's a lot of coffee per capita. And but what we need to understand is that that's mostly just like bulk coffee from massive roasters who actually roast with like 50-kilo machines, and they have like five of those running like 12 hours a day. And very little, only like less than 10% of the actual uh, like consumed coffee is specialty quality. So, and even from that 10%, I would say that like you can count with one hand the ones that like actually like you should visit in Helsinki. Helsinki's, and this is something this is actually a really good question because it brings me to like something that I've been working on is the stagnation of the Nordic coffee scene. Like the Nordic coffee scene has unfortunately stagnated to a point where people are buying from the same coffee sourcers, the same coffee importers, and are roasting on the same machines to a same roasting degree. So everything starts to taste really similar. People are
Mm-hmm.
doing really sort of like brightness driven coffees, which is technically just another word for acidity. Uh, it, it, yeah, brightness is just acidity. It's just like
I
it's a
get it.
fancy word for it. And uh, that's that has nurtured like a bubble of stagnation where people are not experimenting with coffee anymore. Roasters are unhappy or they're afraid to buy new beans or new greens because they are too comfortable in their bubble selling Kenyans, Ethiopians, Brazilians, and Colombians on a 3-month cycle to their customers. They are not educating their customers. They are only they're telling them to buy the stuff that they're already purchasing in, which is already found to be selling at a good price. So there's no incentive for coffee roasters in the Scandinavian countries to actually develop their products, develop their coffees, which is really sad. And something that I am trying to sort of fix a little bit with my coffee pop-ups.
Thank you. I love this question. It's because I can't be there, so it's always good to have the locals. It's anyway, it's there's someone who told me again once, when you go traveling, ask the local what would they do if it was their last day in their country before moving overseas, because they're gonna give you all the nuggets. Is it, without going to political, but I understand the practical side of it. It's non-judgmental, but could it be potentially also, I'm assuming, influenced by culture? It is cold. Maybe people are not as super open around new stuff because it's been done in a certain way. Not necessarily with a negative attached to it, but more to do with, there's certain countries that are super progressive, but at the same time, they're quite conservative in other aspects. And then you got other countries that are super open and super warm because of, this climate and financial. And then you got tropical islands. It's okay, I get it. It's different. But would you say that the Finnish culture has a little bit something to do with it?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's there's a very prevalent attitude that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And which is good, but also it means that things change really freakishly slowly here. It took 5 years for the flat white to be accepted into specialty coffee, the phase.
Can I give you good news? Two good news, and then ask you the last question because I didn't realize that we're 10 minutes out. But
yeah,
two good news. I like to think positive. Number one, you have a substantial advantage in Finland, which is the amount of coffee that's been drunk. So you have a higher, statistically speaking, odds to get someone to drink something different because they drink so much coffee.
Yeah.
Number two, positives is thanks to the Finnish culture, you were able to become who you are also thanks to yourself and your parents and the molding and the growing up. But because you got out of the house 18, 19, whatever age, I think also there's that amazing aspect that will allow you to be the creation and one of the pioneers amongst all the other amazing Finnish professionals. So those are the two good news. Now, the last question, and before I ask you, again, thank you for being here. It's just been super good. I really appreciate it. I think we should do a 2.0 version of this. Maybe we'll brew together. Maybe we'll drink the same coffee. I don't know. We'll maybe the whoosh whoosh, again, not sponsored, but maybe the whoosh whoosh. Veg, good to see you, brother. And last question for you, it's got 9 minutes to go, is what ultimately is your coffee mission and what's sort of next for you? And again, thank you for being here, man. It was a real treat, a real pleasure. Good chat.
That's my pleasure. My pleasure as well. Well, next, I am starting a pop-up really soon here in Helsinki where I will be ordering coffee from all over the world. I will be starting with probably coffee from Ona, in like Ona Coffee in Canberra, Melbourne. I will be ordering from them. I will be showing people that you can roast coffee differently. You can get different flavors out of it. You can get different coffees, and it's not that hard. Then I will be probably moving on to black and white roasters from the US and start something.
Len Butler, yeah.
Yep. Len Butler and Kyle Ramey.
Correct. Yeah. Always.
Yeah. I've always been a fan of their sort of products and their coffees, and this is a really good opportunity to for me to get their coffees. Then next, after that is WBC. So that's if you ever want to stream that, that's where you'll find me. I will be at the WBC and I will be showing you guys something really good that we're developing together with 90 Plus Coffee.
With Josh, sorry, Joseph.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Well, I'm sure you've seen that I've interviewed him, and there's a real
yeah.
treat. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you can't say much about it. I'm sure you
Yeah.
can't, but that's okay. I'm very excited. Like, I'm not sure if you know that, but
Um,
my first ever coffee, filter coffee, was the licello from Joseph. So
nice.
there's a very, I don't know, there's a beautiful romantic connection
Yeah.
between my coffee journey and 90 plus. So that's anyway. That's a story for
Don't
another
worry.
time. Other people heard that story. Okay, so planning for WBC pop-up shop, and the idea is around this is to be in coffee because your mission is.
To share it, to share everything else and share everything that I know, share everything that I taste. And on that segue, we're even open sourcing the thing that we're working on with 90 plus. So everybody can benefit from that.
Hi, all right, beautiful. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
But of course, we gotta wait, and
Yeah.
it's all right. I'm a relatively patient person. So,
That's good. That's good. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, man.
Well, hey,
It was, yeah.
thank you for your time. I appreciate the chance of being here and talking with you. It's been amazing.
I agree. It was really a treat. Made my day. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. I think if people really listen to this, you spoke, we spoke. It's all right, I can say, but we touched base on very important things, and I just, to be honest with you, well, there you go. Well, Andrea just said literally what I wanted to
Yep.
say, and I'm not trying to patronize anyone here, but I'm such a huge fan of young people, like huge fan. Like
Oh,
for me, it's like when I was 16, 15, I said to myself a very clear goal, which was like, well, when I'm 25, 28, 30
mm,
plus, I don't want to be like the ones where now it's like, oh, young people, and they like to look down at the ship. Because I got such a good understanding, in my opinion, or intuition that,
mm,
well, hang on a minute, the youth is the future, which is what just I think Andre kind of said. There's a lot for the future or the past. So
yeah,
anyway, that was more a wish for you, but the future word triggered me that thought process, which is like young people are going to be our future lawyers,
yeah,
baristas, farmers, doctors, surgeons, people who are going to invent the next internet, AI,
yeah.
whatever it is going to be. So I'm super happy that I had a chance to talk to you, and you're doing an amazing job. You're right. You got such a cool mindset, and yeah, honestly, I can't wait to see more from you, man.
Thanks. Hey, it's been a pleasure and
Yeah,
talk to you soon.
let's keep
See
in
you.
touch, buddy. Good luck with the pop up, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
See you, buddy. There you have it, guys. Kaapo was a real treat to talk to. I'm gonna just say thank you to him. Thank you to all of you guys being here. I really appreciate your presence. And if you're new, feel free to take a screenshot and share on your Instagram stories. We're doing this about 3 times a week. We ending the week on an amazing Thursday and Friday with 2 Japanese guests. You can check who they're gonna be. And if you haven't started this episode from the beginning, we do have a podcast, so this will be available in the podcast as well. And if you are listening from the podcast, I'm glad to have you here. I really appreciate each and one of you. I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. Keep drinking good coffee. If you're still here and you're listening to this today, we just launched a giveaway. So it's the first of a few. We're gonna do a few to give back to the coffee people, to launch our project. I've been working behind the scene very secretly. We got a giveaway. We're giving away a setup. I'll show you what it is. I have it myself. It's gonna be a coffee server with a V60, but it's gonna be the ceramic version of this, and you can pick the color. Just go on the feed. You can see the post. It's a giveaway. You got 6 more days to enter. The instructions are on the post. So go and get yourself a V60. Enter global shipping. So this is a good chance for you to start brewing at home and do exactly what Kaapo was talking about, which is experimenting with what you have. I gotta get out of here because Instagram is giving me soon the 30 seconds countdown. Again, thank you so much. I'm very grateful, and I'll see you soon, real soon. Stay safe.